Western and Eastern Conferences clash as the Denver Dream battle the Chicago Bliss. Next.
I just want to be given the chance.
You were the pioneers that built women's football.
The opportunity to succeed. Or even to fail.
You are the league of their own.
Figure out what the you need to do mentally to be able to sacrifice everything for the girl next to you.
You better knock the shit out of it.
Put the hurt on them first. Keep them on the ground. Stick your foot on their throat.
A beautiful night alongside the Chicago River. Welcome inside the booth of LFL Football Night. Mitch Mortaza and Bobby Huco ready to do it all over again for you. The Denver Dream and the Chicago Bliss. And on paper, at least, this game has no implications for the playoff run. However, if you're the Denver Dream, there is some importance here.
Means a lot to Denver. Here's a team that's given up nearly 100 points per game, which is ridiculous. The focus all year long is being on the imminent firing of head coach Carlos Bates. Now the players, they're in trouble too. A lot of these players won't be here next year. The league is not happy at all with the passion, the competitive nature, not scoring points, and obviously not winning games. There could be a complete franchise blow-up and start new next year if they don't play well tonight.
That'll be an interesting story as it unfolds in the offseason. Will Carlos Bates be fired, and how much of this roster will be retained by this franchise? On the other side, folks, the Chicago Bliss, no mystery at all. They are your #1 seed in the Eastern Conference. They've got a date scheduled August 20th versus their rival, the Atlanta Steam, in the Eastern Conference Championship. Now, the only concern I would have if I was a Chicago Bliss fan is the injury bug.
A couple key contributors are hurt. May Gamble, she's having an all-fantasy season at tight end for Chicago. Last week, the doctors thought it might be a broken leg. It was not, just a contusion. She might actually play tonight. And on defense, all-fantasy defensive end Chantel Taylor out again with a broken toe. They expect her back, however, August 20th in the conference championship game against Atlanta.
Certainly a pair of injuries to watch. It is time to lace them up. Can Denver rebound from their nightmare season? Or will Chicago remain undefeated? Say it with me. Kickoff is next. Back to LFL Football Night. Look at that Chicago River, Bobby Huco, one of my favorite cities in the country.
I love Chicago. I love this game tonight. Chicago getting tuned up for the playoffs. Denver, they're playing for their lives tonight. Literally, this team might blow up. These players need to play well tonight, so they'll be back next year.
The sun is not set yet here in Chicago. That looks like Dominique Collins on the return. A nice looking return. That'll give Chicago decent field position, and Jane Caldwell, someone who has not gotten a lot of credit this season, gets her third start in Chicago.
Coach Keith Hack, he wants to work on the passing game tonight. Jane Caldwell will work in progress. They haven't thrown the ball that well this season, and Denver's not a big test for him, but she needs to start playing well going into the playoffs.
A 1st and 10, and there are Caldwell's numbers. Not blazing, really.
Not at all. That's why I said she's a work in progress, only completing 35% of her passes.
A 1st and 10 from the 15. Caldwell down the field and through the arms of Christelle Harris. Getting back to Caldwell, we sat down with her quarterback coach.
They all were different. Jacinda, amazing athlete, strong arm. Heather, great runner, leader, played defense. Jane is making progress very well. I would say her and Jacinda are very comparable, but I think Jane's been a little bit slower on her progress.
That's very interesting. Jane Caldwell calls herself the best of all of them. Her quarterback coach, Matt Pike, says she's number 3 on the Chicago quarterback list right now.
A good-looking second down run by Christelle Harris. So the Ferrari being targeted early in this offense. Let's meet their starters.
Ferrari Harris, the running back.
Shabria Civilian, your wide receiver.
AJ Johnson, wide receiver.
Quincy Hewitt, tight end.
D Hightower, tight end.
Brittany Wilson, center.
Jane Caldwell, the quarterback.
Coach Keith Hack really said he wanted to work on the passing game tonight with Caldwell throwing to A.J. Johnson, Ali Alberts and Shabria Civilian.
They will keep it on the ground here. That is Christelle Harris. So the first 3 plays from scrimmage for Chicago have targeted the Ferrari as we meet Denver's defense.
Alyssa Stongel, corner. Jalen Canfield, corner.
Asia Walker, safety.
Tiara Brown, safety. Elizabeth DeGroot, linebacker.
Starla Smith, defensive end.
Jessica Johnson, defensive end.
We'll see how big the addition of Jessica Johnson was, the free agent from Pittsburgh, in shoring up this defense.
And look at the edge corner rush. That is Alyssa Stongel, of all people, getting to Jane Caldwell. About a 5-yard loss.
A great call by Carlos Bates, a former defensive back. He called a weak side corner blitz. Caldwell did not see it and got sacked. What a play by Denver.
A big loss for this Chicago offense. They certainly have the weapons to regain a first down and then some. As we near the 7-minute mark of the first quarter, thus far Denver hanging in tough. Caldwell back to pass, throwing outside and not able to connect with Christelle Harris. That is 2 drops or disconnects with Christelle Harris.
Well, that's what quarterback coach Matt Pike's been working on, the little things, making her a quarterback. Little read right there, she was off on that sack. If she just opens her shoulder on her drop back, she'll see that blitz coming. She's not doing it right now.
Now a 3rd and 10 for this Chicago offense. Jane Caldwell really trying to get comfortable in this system in advance of the postseason and the August 20th matchup versus Atlanta. Another handoff, and again to Christelle Harris, just stiff-arming her way down to about the 5-yard line. That should set up a 1st and goal.
This is the old Christelle, the Ferrari Harris. You see her stats right there. Not a lot of carries. Javelle Thompson getting a lot of looks this year. We talked about it last week. The Ferrari not happy, not playing as much as she usually does. She's starting tonight, and she looks like the old Ferrari.
It appears she lobbied head coach Keith Hack quite a bit because she's gotten every touch or look on this first series.
I think head coach Keith Hack and offensive coordinator Jim Brewer, all year long they're trying to save her, keep her healthy. Going into the playoffs, they're going to give her a lot more touches.
A 1st and goal, ball at about 5-yard line. Another handoff to the Ferrari. Zooming her way into the end zone. Touchdown, Chicago.
I like what they're doing. She's following the block of Brittany Wilson. If she blocks right, she cuts back left. She reads the block, and like a veteran, boom, she cuts it left into the end zone. That's a veteran run.
The Denver defense showed some willingness on that first series, but ultimately it was the veteran, the Ferrari, who really carried Chicago on that series.
Exactly. There was no passing game. Caldwell did not complete a pass. The Ferrari did it all.
This will be a 2-point attempt from the 3-yard line. And Caldwell under center. That is Ali Alberts in motion. Dropping back to pass, looking to Alberts. That was entirely too easy over the head of Alyssa Stongel, as Chicago extends its lead to 8-0. And we've got a media timeout with Chicago rolling on the wheels of the Ferrari.
LFL Mobile, giving you access to the gridiron goddesses of the LFL with exclusive photos, videos, live game reporting, and fan promotions. LFL Mobile. Download on your Android or iPhone.
They're playing cover 2 zone. They're playing cover 2.
I don't want to see any more running. You can run all. I know. You can run all day long on these fucking balls.
A listen in to that Chicago sideline as we welcome you back to LFL football night.
Well, that's the game plan. Head coach Keith Hack, he wants to work on the passing game. He is happy with his running game. He has arguably the number 1 and 2 backs in the league with the Ferrari and Javelle Thompson, but his passing game with Caldwell is not where he wants it going into the playoffs.
That is Taisha Lowry, the recent signee. She was actually working with the quarterbacks as a coach and now starting. Looking good on this opening play, but that is Marissa Galladay, the number 2 tackler in the league, tracking down Lowry. Lowry getting her first start as we meet the offense for Denver.
Stacey Harmon, tight end.
Elizabeth DeGroot, running back. Kelly Roque, wide receiver.
Lindsay Q, wide receiver.
Starla Smith,
tight end. Sasha Cruz, center. Taisha Lowry, your quarterback.
All eyes tonight are on the quarterback, Taisha Lowry, to see if she can score some points for the struggling Denver franchise.
A 2nd and 6 handoff going to Elizabeth DeGrott. Denver is trying to develop DeGrott into the starting running back. Just lacks a lot of the physical ability.
Well, she needs coaching. We mentioned before the game, this is tryouts for this Denver team. A lot of these players will not be back next year. They need to play well tonight to even be invited back to camp next year.
This offense, it has been well documented, scoring only 1 touchdown through 12 quarters of play, and that was against the Chicago BLISS. But this offense, hopefully, will show some signs of life with Lowry. From the shotgun, rolling right and throwing at the feet of Lindsey Fields. Great coverage by Kristen Morrison as we meet this Chicago starting defense.
Dominique Collins, cornerback.
Tamar Fennell, cornerback.
Ali Alberts, safety.
Kim Perez, safety.
Kristen Morrison,
Linebacker.
Marissa Galladay, defensive end.
Nakawani, DN.
Coach Keith Hack said this is his best all-time defense he's ever had, but the story, in my eyes, is defensive end Marissa Galladay, right now leading the league in sacks, having an outstanding season.
A 4th down for this offense and a vital one. Here comes the blitz. A good recognition by Lowry there to check down, finding Jessica Johnson, the recent signee from Pittsburgh.
You can see that Lowry has some skills. A trip set to the right. She looks off the defense, comes back underneath, delivers a strike, gets the 1st down for Denver. We haven't seen this from Denver all year long.
Johnson made an interesting move immediately after the Rebellion season was over in Pittsburgh, agreeing to sign with Denver.
They need all the help they can get. She's a solid player. They need a morale booster, and she's the one.
Lowry starting to move this offense. This is the first time Denver has been on the Chicago side of the ball. From the shotgun, kind of flat-footed. Lowry moving right, now scrambling left, fighting for her life, and will be tracked down. Great open field tackle and pursuit by Galladay.
You can see that Lowry has athletic skills. She was a great basketball player. Just watch her scramble in the pocket. All kind of pressure outside. She reverse field, finds time, can't deliver the ball, still goes down. But this is a big upgrade at quarterback for Denver.
I like the wheels on Galladay. They're going to need her. In fact, they talked about spying Lowry, who tends to scramble.
That's all she does. She doesn't have any talent outside to really have going down the field, any wide receivers. She's going to have to do a lot on her own tonight.
A delayed handoff to Elizabeth DeGrott. Miss DeGrott meet the 2016 Defensive Player of the Year. That is Kristen Morrison. And a treat for you fans, we've got Morrison mic'd up. Let's listen in.
Morrison might be #1 in the league at disrupting offenses. Already she has 19.5 tackles and 3 sacks. I love watching her play middle linebacker.
Such a gifted athlete. We saw her with that pick 6 earlier in the year. She could easily play the running back position. Just has lateral speed, great pursuit, and like you said, she wrecks offensive schemes. That is Lowry. She has really tried to connect with Lindsey Fields. Coming into this game, Fields is the #1 receiver for Denver, which isn't saying much.
Fields plays like that. Fields needs to make that catch. It was a fine throw. It was low, keep it low. You can't intercept it. It was there. You have to make that catch. Good throw by Lowry.
Denver, surprisingly, within 8 points as we near the end of the first quarter. We've seen this defense give up nearly 30 points a quarter and an offense that has not been able to move the ball. That has not been the case here in the first quarter. Denver is playing very well under the leadership of Lowry. This offense going to be tested here on a 4th down. Lowry trying to buy time on the right side and stripped. That is picked up by Dominique Collins. Denver late in responding. Collins saw the fumble and returned it.
Dominique Collins, this Chicago defense, they're a scoring defense. Just a bad play by Lowry. She had to get big yardage. She tried to run, just fumbled the football.
I have holding on the offense. That penalty will be declined. First down.
That's head referee Kevin Rowland. The penalty going against Denver declined. And you could see here, Dominique Collins saw the strip fumble and returned it while the Denver players are just kind of standing around.
Great coaching by Myron Knox, the defensive back coach. Scoop and score. That's what she was trying to do right there. Almost 6 points for Chicago.
This offense set up beautifully now. Ball at the 5-yard line of Denver. Another opportunity for Jane Caldwell. And it appears JaVille Thompson in the backfield. Thompson getting the ball and stretching it into the end zone. Touchdown, Chicago.
JaVelle Thompson, a number 2 of that 1-2 punch at running back, right up the middle again, right up the gut. No competition going against the safeties Brown and Walker for Denver.
Denver, I was just complimenting them at not giving up a big lead early. Suddenly they're down 14-0.
Anytime you turn the ball over like that, a team like Chicago puts them in a position to score. You got to protect the football. Lowry did not.
In fact, the turnover margin, the worst in the league for Denver at -20.
Offensive coordinator Jim Bruner having a problem getting the call into Caldwell. He looks a little confused.
Caldwell had an offseason with this offense to acclimate, but this is her 3rd team in 3 years. That's got to be tough. Now the extra point attempt. They're going for 2 in Caldwell, finding a lane into the end zone as Chicago now leads it 16-0.
Jane Caldwell doing what she knows how to do, run the football. Everybody knows that she's the best running quarterback in the LFL. They want to see her pass tonight.
That'll do it for the first quarter. Chicago up 16-0. Back to second quarter action of LFL football night alongside the beautiful Chicago River. Before we get going, we sat down with Carlos Bates and asked him to grade his performance.
If I had to rate myself as a coach, I would give myself a B-. You know, I think over the season, I taught my girls a good amount of football, you know, and a lot of them learned. But, you know, if I had more time, I think they'll learn more football, and I hope I get the chance to come back and continue to teach my girls the game of football because I think a lot of them will be great athletes for the LFL.
I like his enthusiasm, but giving up 100 points a game, only scoring 1 touchdown, that's got to be an F. If he was in school, he'd be coming back for summer school, definitely.
Yeah, you want to talk about optimism, a B-. I think you and I have watched every Denver game. That's being very generous as his offense now lines up a 1st and 10. Handoff to DeGroat, and DeGroat is really slow trying to move up the field. This time the entire Chicago defense attacking. That looked to be led by Dominique Collins and Allie Alberts.
DeGroat doesn't have great speed, but she has a big heart, and I like her motor. She kept the legs churning and carried 5 defensive players for a couple yards.
You know, that's an excellent point. That's been one of my personal criticisms of this team. There hasn't been that emotion, that intensity that you talked about in the pregame show. We're seeing a little bit of that from a DeGroat, for example.
So far, you would think this team would just totally give up. With their new quarterback, Johnson on defense, DeGroat playing like that, they're a lot more competitive tonight.
A 2nd and 6 from the shotgun. Looked to be a draw play to DeGroat, but this time Lowry throwing it across the field and connecting. That is Lindsey Fields. We talked about it, the #1 receiver for Denver.
I'm going to tell you what, Lowry, she's got potential. The way she stayed in the pocket, moved outside, threw across her body all the way across the field on target. It's the best I've seen all year.
You saw Fields' numbers averaging 9 yards of reception. That is going to be a favored target for the new quarterback Lowry. That's head coach Keith Hack, also the defensive coordinator, a little concerned as to how well Denver's moving the ball here. A 1st and 10 ball at the Chicago 21. Lowry remains in the shotgun, throwing into the flat and ugly looking pass. That was intended for Haley Ryan.
Ryan, there was nothing there. She tried a quick out. Coverage was there. I think she just threw that football away, wanted to tee it up again.
Lowry, one of the preeminent stars in 11-on-11 women's tackle football. We'll see how that fares here on the LFL stage.
So far, she looks okay. Of course, the big mistake was that turnover where she fumbled and Dominique Collins scooped it up.
A 2nd and 10 for Denver. They're wanting to milk this clock down. That was one of their strategy. You could see Lowry looking back at the clock. They want to minimize the amount of time the Chicago offense is on the field. A 2nd down play looking over the middle. And that was a great looking pass by Lowry, dropped by Lindsey Fields.
That's the 2nd drop by Fields. She's got hands of stones right now. Again, a great pass by Lowry, good protection up front. Again, it should have been a completion. Coach Hack is not happy at all with his secondary.
This is the starting #1 defense for Chicago, so it's not as if they've inserted replacements. That's Nneka Nwani. The only one missing from the defensive lineup, you talked about it in the pregame show, is the all-fantasy defensive end, Chantel Taylor.
It's got to be tough to keep them up for a game against Denver, knowing their next game is against Atlanta in the playoffs. They beat this team by almost 100 points last time, and now they got to stay up and try to do it again.
On a 3rd and 10, that is Kristen Morrison. Lowry just not able to keep her footing.
Keith Hack called a blitz. 4 defenders going against 3 protectors. Morrison broke wide open for the sack. It looks like she threw it away. That should be intentional grounding.
Hey! Ref! Ref! How is that not intentional grounding? How is that not intentional grounding? Oh, come on! Are you fucking kidding me?
You and head coach Keith Hack are on the same page. It looked like make that Lowry, got out of the pocket. If anything, that may have been a fumble, but as long as she gets outside of the pocket, much like the NFL, that should be an incomplete pass, and that is the ruling down on the field.
But it should pass the line of scrimmage, which it did not, so that should have totally been the other way, and intentional grounding.
That is the counter argument, absolutely. A 4th and 10, this is Lowry again running for her life, and tracked down, this time by Tamar Fennell.
4th and 10, you can tell she doesn't have the football knowledge what to do. You have to try to get the 1st down. You can't do that and just turn the ball over.
I don't fucking care. You guys got to disguise it.
Defensive coordinator Keith Hack, you could see, despite the stop by his defense and the ball back to his offense, he wasn't happy at the execution of the defense.
Not at all. That's what he wants to work on tonight. He wants the players to work on their craft. In his words, get better at your own game, even though you're playing a low-ranked Denver team.
A 1st and 10 down the field. That was intended to the rookie.
I swear to God, hey, I will fight another quarterback if you throw another deep ball to her. I don't fucking care. She can't catch.
Apparently, Ty Alley was supposed to be a decoy. She was open. I actually can't blame Caldwell for throwing to her, but apparently she can't catch, and Caldwell is supposed to come underneath. She's open. The pass is right there. Should have been a touchdown, but she was a decoy on that play.
That incomplete pass now setting up a 2nd and 10. Trips right with A.J. Johnson. A poor snap back to Caldwell. Caldwell picking it up now and able to regain some of the yardage. Caldwell was blown up by the rookie Tierra Brown, and clearly number 15 a little slow getting up.
Brittany Wilson all year long having a problem with the snaps. She snapped it early. Caldwell made a great play, adapting, improvising, picking the ball up, and then getting some yardage, but this hit is incredible.
Wow. I'll steal a line from the Bobby Huco commentary book. That is LFL Medical looking at Jane Caldwell. We feared potentially a concussion, but that just looks like a lip injury. We will see if Caldwell returns to this game. Kim Perez is the backup.
Y'all want to get on the field, right? Then when you get on the field, you fuck up. So how are we supposed to put you on the field? Get your heads out of your asses and play bliss ball, all right? All right, let's go.
Coach Keith Hack looking right at Ty Alley, who dropped that touchdown. It looks like Caldwell will remain in the game. An interesting decision in a meaningless game.
Well, this is what he didn't want to happen, to have any of his star players injured. He wants Caldwell to get reps, but you can't take hits like that going into playoffs, or she might not be playing in the playoffs.
We talked about the injury bug with Chicago in the pregame show. May Gamble, the starting left tight end, is out of this game with an injury against Omaha last week, and Chantel Taylor an off-the-field injury with a broken toe. A pitch right on a 3rd and 5. Going back to the Ferrari, wide open lane. It kind of feels like Germany's Autobahn with the Ferrari.
Shoddy tackling by Denver. They wanted nothing to do with the Ferrari. Great cut inside, goes untouched into the end zone. She's having an outstanding night.
Hey, and how about the class I inserted into the broadcast, referencing the Autobahn in Germany?
I love the Autobahn. You can go as fast as you want, just like the Ferrari. She goes as fast as she wants. All she wants to do is play.
That was the concern earlier in the year. You could see the disappointment, especially in the Omaha game last week. Not getting enough touches. Number 13 was thoroughly disappointed. So far here in the first half, they've gone back to number 13.
I think it was a brilliant coaching. They got her upset that she won more touches, and she's going to get touches.
Speaking of a touch, Jane Caldwell, not known for her accuracy, finding Allie Alberts in the corner of the end zone.
Perfectly timed play, drop, throw, great catch, all hands by Allie Alberts. That's what Mac Pike wants to see tonight.
A 2-point conversion as they slowly migrate Allie Alberts back into this offensive scheme.
When she gets back 100% on offense, in my opinion, they're the top 2 receivers in the LFL. That tandem, any quarterback would love to throw to.
Offensive coordinator Jim Bruner did say that they want to get a look at Allie Alberts and A.J. Johnson out on the field at the same time. This will be Denver's turn on offense, and we've got an early penalty. Early indication this will be a false start on Denver.
I got a dead ball, false start on the offense, snap infraction, 5-yard penalty, replay first down.
That indeed is on Denver. That'll back them up 5 yards. It's important for this offense to continue to move the ball and keep the point margin to within 20, I think.
And for their confidence and morale, score some points. Like you said, they're moving the football. Lowry looks okay at quarterback, a couple drops. The Grout running the ball okay, but they need to score points.
The Fields drops have proven to be costly. A 2nd and 15 now after the false start. They were setting up the flat to Jessica Johnson. There's the athletic Nneka Nwani.
She is athletic. Watch this. She couldn't get in on the rough, so she drops back. She comes back and then makes a defensive back play. Outstanding play by Nneka Nwani. Went from a defensive rusher coming off the edge to a defensive back in a heartbeat.
That is what 5 years of experience will give you. Nwani did take the year off last year, signing with Atlanta. After 3 very successful seasons with Chicago, had a bit of a run-in with head coach Keith Hack. Well documented on the national reality series, now re-signing with Chicago.
She's back, and with Yashi Rice retiring, it's a great 1-2 combination. When Chantel Taylor comes back from that broken toe, they are 2 of the best in the league.
2nd and 15, not able to connect. That pass was intended for Kelly Roquet. Roquet did start the season on the roster, but has been out. They're really looking at various pieces and personnel here. This is somewhat of a preseason game. Kind of odd to say that in your final game of the regular season. But in effect, that's what this is for Denver.
It really is. It's tryouts for a lot of girls. I like what I see at quarterback with Lowry. I mean, she's showing she's not in great shape. She'll work on that during the offseason, but I hope she comes back.
Despite the score, Lowry having some success, but Chicago up 24-0. Back for the final 2 minutes of the first half. A look at that Denver sideline as they trail this one 24-0.
Denver looks better, they look improved, but the bottom line is they still haven't scored a point, and they gave up 24 so far.
Yeah, we're not playing horseshoes here. You got to get it into the end zone, and when you go through 12 quarters of football, I don't care who you are, like you said, you can't use the expansion franchise card. you've got to have more success offensively than they have.
They have to pick out who the hardcore players in to bring back next year and get rid of everybody else.
From the shotgun, Lowry dropping back, a lazy looking pass to Haley Ryan. That was nearly and could have been intercepted.
Lowry looks good in the pocket. In fact, she reminds me of my old quarterback, Anaka Dixon, who could scramble with the best of them, but she could also throw it down the field 60 yards. I've yet to see Lowry throw it deep, so I'm not sure she has that kind of arm strength.
Not to date ourselves, but Anaka Dixon of the Miami Caliente in 2009 did have a young lady named Tina Cacavelli. That receiver does not exist here in Denver.
100% right. Cacavelli was the best of the best. You could go to her anytime, even if covered. You're right, Lowry's got no talent on the outside to go deep.
A 4th and 15, this looks to be a possible punt. Fields the designated punter, a good-looking punt. Allie Alberts deep to receive and will work the sideline. That will be a short net on the punt for Denver. But the good news is they're not giving a very short field as they've been doing most of the season.
That's right. Well, you can say that, but I'm an offensive guy, and it's like you're down 24-0 with 2 minutes left. You got to score some points. The punt, you take it to Allie Alberts, he brings it back 20 yards.
Hey, when you're watching a Denver Dream game, you got to celebrate everything, including a successful punt.
If we are here celebrating a successful punt, what does that say for the state of this Denver franchise?
Definitely a learning curve in the Mile High City, going into a very interesting offseason. This will be Jane Caldwell. A 1st and 10, rolling right, throwing down the field, has A.J. Johnson, and just beyond the outstretched arms, and that was about 2 yards out of bounds.
That's why Coach Hack wants to work on the passing game. This deep in the season, they should be hitting that pass, and Caldwell was late. The ball should have been thrown earlier to get the ball to Johnson while she's in the field, in the end zone.
A.J. Johnson can certainly stretch the field, as did Allie Alberts the past couple years, so this is an offense capable of the deep ball. It's all going to come down to Jane Caldwell and her accuracy. A 2nd and 10 play into the flat, that'll go complete. The Denver defense finally making an open field tackle. That pass was complete to Shabria Civilian.
Caldwell can throw the ball underneath, a trip set underneath, hit Civilian underneath on a hitch pattern. She's great at that. But you can see on the deep ball, she's still off.
Offensive coordinator Jim Bruner will need to develop this offense to Caldwell's strengths, which is really the run game and underneath passing. Into the end zone, looking for Fennell. That was tipped by Alyssa Stongel, and great concentration by Fennell.
I know they're celebrating right now, but I don't think Matt Pike's celebrating. Against Atlanta, this ball's going to be picked off. It's short. Stongel should have picked it off. She pops it up for the touchdown for Fennell. They're happy now, but the coaching staff I know is not.
I know as defensive backs, you're trained to do the tip drill, but not in the end zone with the receiver standing behind you.
She had great position. All she had to do was go catch the football. She didn't. She didn't adapt to where the ball was coming. She tipped it up, and Fennell's just standing there.
Caldwell has looked for Allie Alberts on these 2-point conversions, and Alberts is in the game in motion. This time Caldwell keeping it herself, and no match walking into the end zone, staring down Denver defenders.
That play is pretty much unstoppable. Quarterback draw with a powerful quarterback like Caldwell, instant points.
All right, we don't stand over opponents. Shut up, all right?
She was the one that busted my lip.
Listen.
She was the one that
we
busted my lip.
don't do that.
Hey, that was the one that busted my lip. That was the one that busted my lip. Hey, I'm double checking. Hey.
Jane Caldwell showing a little bit of swagger, going after Tiara Brown, who knocked her out earlier in the half.
Coach Hack does not want that from his quarterback. He doesn't need a personal foul. Yeah, she made a great hit, Tiara Brown, so why is Caldwell all upset? Just score the points and get off the field.
Caldwell has managed 32 points with that offense. Now it'll be Lowry's turn with just over a minute remaining. From the shotgun, receivers flank to the right side, but she'll dump it off to Jessica Johnson. Johnson targeted well here in the first half. That'll be a gain of about 7 yards.
Nneka Nwani, the defensive end, read the play. She was too late dropping back. That's the play that hurt them before, going to Johnson on a release play. Nwani read it, but it was too late. They got yardage.
As great an athlete as Nwani is, I think I like my chances better with that young lady, Kristen Morrison, dropping into coverage, the more athletically gifted of the two.
Well, you need a safety coming up. When they go trips right and they run a release play to the left, one of the safeties have to read it and come up quick. And you're right, Nwani should be the one dropping back because she's thinking rush.
Now a 2nd and 4. That was a 6-yard gain to Johnson. Lowry back to pass, rolling right under heavy duress and getting out of bounds. Trailed very closely by number 7, Kristen Morrison.
That's where Lowry needs a quarterback coach like Chicago has in Matt Pike. She doesn't have a quarterback coach. There was no pressure. She should stay in the pocket and throw the football.
Galladay, speaking of being coached up, one of the rising stars in the league, the leading tackler. And that is the free safety, the all-fantasy free safety, Allie Alberts, finally rejoining this team, coming off a 2016 suspension.
This Chicago team is stacked with talent. Now they just got to put it together to defend their championship.
A 3rd and 6 now. Clock is stopped. Plenty of time for this Denver offense. Again into the flat, just floating the ball out there. That is a dangerous looking pass, but complete to Lindsey Fields.
You're right, she kind of floats it out there. It got complete, but you need to throw a dart on that.
Denver calling a timeout as we listen into the Chicago bench.
If you got nobody, if you're naked on the backside and you're the backside corner, cheat up some. Cheat up some. Wait for that lineman to release. They're always releasing 10.
So you don't want us to corner over there?
No, listen, if you're left over there by yourself, if they go with twins, if they go with twins in a back, if they go trips, then you have to come. And if they come over, Kim's gonna have to watch over there. But we gotta lock in.
That's exactly what we were talking about before. Nneka Nwani, she doesn't have defensive back skills to drop back. Kim Perez has to come up from safety as soon as she sees Jessica Johnson releasing.
A 4th and 4. If Denver converts, this could keep the gap at 32 points. You don't want to give that Chicago offense another shot here. Lowry back to pass over the middle. A sloppy looking pass. That sailed well over the head of the intended receiver, Jessica Johnson.
Well, she showed you right there, she does not have a gun down the field. That was a hospital ball. It should have been picked off. If the receiver would have caught it, she would have gone to the hospital. Bad throw by Lowry.
We will see if Chicago keeps its foot on the pedal here. Already up 32-0. Under 40 seconds remain here in the first half.
I don't think, even though they're up 32-0, the coaching staff for Chicago is very happy. The Ferrari's having a great game. Caldwell's not yet. I don't think they can be that happy so far.
Caldwell now a 1st and 10 from the Denver 20. A crossing pattern. That's Tamar Fennell cutting it to the outside and into the end zone. Touchdown, Chicago.
Great read and look off by Caldwell. Twins left, they both ran post. She looked left for the post. Fennell came underneath. The safety did not come up, and with her speed and talent, great move outside one-on-one, gets in the end zone. That's where Jane Caldwell looks great at quarterback in these underneath passes.
The Denver corner, Alyssa Stongel, absolutely whiffing on Tamar Fennell. But getting back to your point, that is the maturation of Jane Caldwell in the pocket, looking off the defense, and then having the time and patience to look underneath and find Tamar Fennell.
Well, she moved the safeties with her eyes, exactly, then came underneath.
This is a 2-point attempt into the end zone. A poor decision by Caldwell. That'll be deflected back to her, so our score remains 38-0.
Just when we said how good she's doing, she throws into double coverage underneath. Not a good read at all by Caldwell.
There's no substitution for live reps and experience, so that's one of the upsides of playing in Omaha last week, in Denver this week. You know the outcome is in very little doubt, so it's an opportunity to give someone like Caldwell a lot of reps.
Well, you look for windows too. She expected, like in practice, that quick post going to be open early, but the safeties came up. You have to go over the safeties into a different window, but she didn't wait for it.
A 1st and 10, Denver with the ball again. Lowry remaining in the shotgun. This time just going to hand it off. No, keep it herself. Getting to the edge and out of bounds. That should be a carry for about 5 yards.
That was a spread option, a good read by Lowry. She took it outside. You can see she's an athlete, great basketball player. You mentioned her prowess in football. She looks good. I like her coming back next year. I mentioned that before, but she looks good, better than any quarterback we've seen all year in Denver.
Well, that's where it starts, doesn't it? You have to find a quarterback and build around that quarterback. This Denver team came into the season with Shalyn Canfield penciled in as the starter. We saw Canfield, another good athlete, but not a pocket passer. Enter Mary Towner, grossly out of shape, but had a decent arm. This is now their third quarterback. A 2nd and 5. And laid out. Allie Alberts coming over the middle and blowing up Lindsey Fields.
It's a good thing Allie Alberts was playing the football. If she was playing the player, Lindsey Field would not be getting up right now. She played the football, knocked it down, and still delivered it.
Field, we checked too, and Kim stayed in the middle of the field.
I did too.
I know, but they gotta make sure they're seeing what you're calling. Get 2 again.
Keith Hack working on that defense. Apparently a couple blown assignments in the secondary. Kim Perez and Allie Alberts, all fantasy safeties, but did not work together last season. Now just a simple handoff. That looks to be Elizabeth DeGrott. That should be enough for a first down, but it also may be the end of the first half. Unless Denver does call a timeout, and they do here. That should extend this drive.
Coach Hack not happy at all with his run defense. That was a simple spread option right up the gut. There was nobody there. That's the offense I think Denver should be running, the spread option with this quarterback.
You can see Lowry directing traffic. A lot of miscommunication on the offensive side of the ball. Evading the rush and heavy pressure by Galladay and just running around for her life. Lowry now out of bounds. That will stop the clock with a 2nd remaining. So one final play for Denver.
She can move in the pocket. The problem is she has nobody to throw to downfield. She creates time. What an athlete, just running around this talented Chicago defense, but nobody's open downfield, so she has to tuck it.
Did you see Kristen Morrison just appear in frame? Her closing speed is sick.
Her closing speed is the best in the league. I mean, you're right. She came clear across the field to make that play. That's why she is the #1 linebacker in the LFL.
After about 100 yards of running, she gained about a yard, Lowry. So that sets up a 2nd and 9. For all intents and purposes, the final play of the first half. We'll see if Lowry goes into the end zone. That is what she's going to do, but well overthrown. That was intended for Lindsey Fields with Allie Alberts in coverage.
The problem is they don't have the talent outside at all. Compared to Chicago with A.J. Johnson, Allie Alberts, Shabria Silverlian, Denver has nobody going deep.
That'll do it for us here for the first half. A half dominated by Chicago, up 38-0.
Wake the fuck up! All right? Do not be satisfied with this crap we just rolled out there in the first half. Because I'm not. And I don't like to yell and scream and it's 40-0 at halftime, but we got a lot of work to do.
Despite a 38-0 halftime lead, head coach Keith Hack really getting after his team inside that BLISS locker room. As we welcome you back to LFL football night at halftime, Mitch Mortaza and Bobby Huco. I guess, Bobby, the real difference between an expansion team in Denver and an established team in the Chicago BLISS is its leadership, namely the head coach. With Keith Hack of Chicago, you know what you're getting, a no-nonsense kind of guy, making sure his team does not become complacent despite a 38-point halftime lead. And on the Denver side of the ball, that's an expansion team led by a guy in Carlos Bates that's really unproven.
You can't use that expansion card with me. The franchise, the new franchise, we've seen it how many years now? 2016, Dallas Desire, the Bullet Brothers. They played competitive football all year long. Even when I was coaching, all the new franchises were competitive. Denver's not competitive. Their head coach, Carlos Bates, he's laid back, nonchalant, and it filters down to the team. They play that way.
Now, Chicago was not going to take this very lightly. They saw what Denver made some moves this past week. They signed Jessica Johnson, the free agent pickup from the Pittsburgh Rebellion. You guys may remember Johnson, one of the leading tacklers in the league. And then Taisha Lowry, the quarterback that stepped in, that was helping out the former quarterbacks. She's stepping up into that starting role. Chicago really turned up their defense. We saw it in the first half, mainly with Kristen Morrison absolutely flying all over the field. Now for Denver, Bobby Hugo, what does this offense need to do in the second half for an adjustment?
I'm not sure you can do it this quick, but they need an entire new offense and offensive coordinator. Not good football at all. Lowry, their new quarterback, she's running for her life. No protection up front. She has no running backs to help her. No receivers down the field to throw to. I hated watching the first half. I felt sorry for her.
Now for the Chicago team, their defense pitched a shutout through the first 20 minutes of play, while their offense racked up 38 first-half points. Let's look at some of that scoring. It was the Ferrari, the veteran Christelle Harris, scoring on runs of 5 and 16 yards. Then her counterpart, Jabil Thompson, added a 5-yard touchdown run of herself. Through the air, Jane Caldwell may have found a new favorite target in the 5'2" veteran Tamar Fennell, connecting on back-to-back touchdown passes, one of 6 yards and another of 20 yards out. That brings us to our halftime score of 38-0. Let's take a look at the first half stats.
This is simple. Denver's playing out their season, and it shows with these halftime numbers. They're being dominated on both sides of the ball. For Chicago, it's all about their balance through the air and the ground. As good a performance as you would expect from the Legends Cup champion.
20 minutes of football remain in the season for Denver, while Chicago looks to fine-tune for the playoffs. Say it with me, the second half kickoff is next. Back to third quarter action of LFL football night as we look at our two starting quarterbacks.
Jane Caldwell, she had 2 touchdown passes. One was that tip in the end zone where Tamar Fennell got it. And Lowry, she's been doing okay underneath, but deep, nothing.
Lowry, you mentioned it. She did move the ball a bit, but no points to show for it as Chicago up comfortably 38-0. This will be Dominique Collins getting us underway. A squib kick into the end zone. So Denver will take over at its own 15-yard line.
Let's see if Lowry, the quarterback for Denver, can mount a drive, take them all the way down the field, and finally get some points on the board. I'm really happy the way they're playing, even though they haven't scored any points. You know, a lot of teams would just give up and go home, and that's it. But they're really playing okay football.
I think we've been so conditioned to this Denver team being down 60, 70 points through one half of play. When we're looking up at the scoreboard now from our press box, 38-0 doesn't seem that bad.
Not that bad, and if you give her a couple weapons, maybe a running back, a star receiver, they'll be okay.
This will be the first play of the half, a 1st and 10. That is a draw play to Elizabeth DeGraw. What a hit that time by Kim Perez. Perez playing in her final home game.
Good blocking up front. Again, right up the middle. They get good yardage, but Perez delivers the blow. Wow. But Cat cannot be happy with Kristen Morrison not being there for that play.
There is Kristen Morrison. She has so much upside. You and I are big fans of number 7. Not only the athleticism, but as we talked about, she's starting to become a leader in that locker room.
A leader in the locker room and on the field by example. You mentioned that one play. She came clear across the field, made an outstanding play. Just fun to watch and great in the locker room, as you said.
A 2nd and 5, Lowry deciding to call it herself. That'll be a marginal gain of a couple yards. Dominique Collins forcing her out of bounds.
Again, they ran the spread option, which was there. But right now, Lowry's not in top shape, as you can see. She doesn't have the speed that she usually does. She was called into action with no time for training. You give her off season, I think she's going to be okay at quarterback.
Lowry definitely has all the physical tools of being a quarterback. She's got to commit to this team, and if that happens, like you said, there is some upside and something to anticipate if you're a Denver Dream fan.
And the coaching staff, whoever it is, has to go after free agents. It was great bringing in Jessica Johnson. Bring a couple more like that in.
A 3rd and 3 play, and look at the athleticism of Nneka Nwani. Getting back to your point, Lowry clearly not in great condition and chased down here by Nwani.
Nneka Nwani just slaying it tonight at defensive end. There's no way that Lowry's going to outrun her around the edge.
And Lowry's slow to get up here. So any bit of success that Denver has had could have gone away with that last play. That is a good sign as Lowry stands up and walking off on her own accord, not being helped up. That's a good sign for Denver.
Good sign. I think she just got the wind knocked out of her. She fell flat on her back, getting slammed by Nawani. She's okay.
It'll be interesting to see who the backup quarterback for Denver will be. We've seen Shalane Canfield line up. Mary Towner did not make the trip in from Denver. So I'm not exactly sure who's going to get the play here because it looks like Lowry will return to this game.
If she did, they would be down to their fourth quarterback of the season. That would be Elizabeth DeGrott, who was the backup tonight.
DeGrott is also the starting running back. It'll be interesting to see if they even allow her to throw the ball here. My suspicion is we're going to see a lot of Wildcat if she remains in at quarterback. From the shotgun, that is what's happening. DeGrott trying to get the edge. Kristen Morrison not having it.
This play never had a chance. Sasha Cruz, the center. The only way it works, she has to get to Morrison.
Morrison is mic'd up. You can see when she gets an eye on the ball, there's little between her and that runner.
She saw it, went after it, bam, made a decision, made a great play. With DeGrott at quarterback, there's no deception back there. Like you said, it's going to be a running quarterback, and they're going to be all over.
Jane Caldwell and the Chicago offense getting their first opportunity of the second half. A 1st and 10 on the Denver side of the field, down the field, and well overthrown. Her and A.J. Johnson not on the same page tonight.
This is where Caldwell is a quarterback. You have to have progression. A.J. Johnson was not open. You have to come off her, come underneath to another receiver. She did not.
A.J. Johnson, a down the field threat, but that threat gets negated if the quarterback doesn't have the ability to connect.
Exactly. I mean, it's good once in a while, maybe early in the game, to extend the secondary, but right there she was trying to make a completion, but didn't have a chance.
Caldwell again back to pass. Into the end zone, this time wide open. And on cue, A.J. Johnson, touchdown.
Exactly what I said she didn't do last time. She did great this time. She read off the secondary, looked right, and then came way left for a wide open A.J. Johnson. Great read and way to move the safeties with her eyes by Jane Caldwell.
I think we're starting to see the maturation of a quarterback in Jane Caldwell. Here's a young lady that played quarterback, as we said earlier, in LFL Australia with the Queensland Brigade, with no real offensive mind guiding her there. Then she comes over to the States, but plays running back with the Atlanta Steam. It was only more recently that Los Angeles signed her at quarterback, but no offensive guru there. She finally has a system and an opportunity here in Chicago with Jim Bruner and Matt Pike to develop into something special.
But the standards are so high in Chicago. She's following two quarterbacks that won Legends Cup championship quarterbacks. She stepped in with Chicago, and we are hard on her because she has to perform here. If she doesn't, you heard Matt Pike before the game, right now he has her rated number 3. She has to win a championship here.
That extra point attempt intended to Kristen Morrison, no good. Our score will remain 44-0. Obviously, the game is in little in doubt here. So Lowry in this offense at this point will just take a look at the personnel and see what they have to work with going into the offseason.
The only thing working tonight is the underneath passing game. Every time they go deep, they don't have the speed receivers to cut off the edge or the top of the coverage. Underneath the field has been working. That's what they have to stay with.
1st and 10, ball at the 15-yard line. That is Lowry trying to evade the rush and not able to do it. That is Kristen Morrison cleaning up after Marissa Galladay almost had Lowry.
The one good thing for Chicago's defensive line, Coach Andrews, the line coach, has got to be happy. Lowry is giving their line a workout tonight with her scrambling ability. They have to go sideline to sideline to bring her down.
How about the return of Chantel Taylor when that happens in the playoffs? You're talking about a front line that has Galladay, Taylor, and Kristen Morrison at the Mike middle linebacker. That's a pretty good front three.
It's an awesome front three. The problem is Chantel Taylor, it doesn't sound like much, but a broken toe is one of the hardest injuries to come off of because you can't move.
Now a 2nd and 22 after that sack on Lowry. That's not going to get it done. That Deandra Fry, one of the better tackling corners in the league. Fry was battling some concussion protocol earlier in the season, finally getting some playing time.
The problem with Denver's offense, they have no superstars outside or in the running back. It's all Lowry tonight. The spread option's working, but right there, when she gets sacked, when you have to throw the football, there's nobody she can throw to.
We've seen some success with Jessica Johnson on the release play into the flat and Lindsey Fields, but you're right, outside of that, there really is nobody on this offensive roster that scares a defensive player.
That's why they have to move the football on the ground somewhat to get in a short passing situation where she can't complete some passes.
A 3rd and 20, a high snap, and somehow Lowry completing it to Lindsey Fields. That could have been disaster.
Wow, she didn't even read out there. She caught the snap and just turned and threw it. I don't know how that ball got completed. Great catch by Fields.
Fields has been very up and down. I mean, I know she hasn't had a consistent quarterback back there, and Fields actually started at the tight end position, played some center, but had a disastrous debut at center. We all saw that. Now they're trying her at the wide receiver position. That is something that she feels more comfortable with.
She plays okay at wide receiver. Again, it comes down to coaching. She probably has not had a wide receiver coach to show her little techniques how to excel at that position.
Another high snap by Cruz. Fields does regain control, a good-looking punt. Allie Alberts will allow it to go out of bounds. Again, good field position for Chicago.
The 2 best offensive plays tonight for Denver have been their 2 punts.
Yeah, it's sad to say that they've been able to flip field position a bit at least. Every time they've given that defense a short field to defend, they haven't been able to do it.
Not at all. I was hoping they could get out to a good start here in the second half, get some points on the board, but it's just not happening. Just don't have the weapons to score against his team that's talented in Chicago.
A 1st and 10 ball at the Chicago 17-yard line. Caldwell under center. That is Javille Thompson in the backfield. A toss left to Thompson, breaking through arm tackles and weaving her way through the Denver defense. Still on her feet, all the way down to about the 3-yard line.
Javille Thompson is simply electric when she touches the football. Sweep outside. There's no way that Strongle's going to bring her down one-on-one, but watch what she does after getting by Strongle. She goes by 1, 2, 3 defenders, and then goes by Walker for the 2nd time on the same play. Incredible run by Javille Thompson.
If Christelle Harris does decide to sign with another team in the offseason, Chicago's got a plan B.
A plan B, C, and D. They got Tamar Fennell. They got Civilian behind her. They are stacked at running back.
That looked to be a little miscommunication with Javille Thompson as Caldwell taking it in herself. That'll further extend this ridiculous lead by Chicago.
I said 21.
Flip 54. No, what?
I said 21 left.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, you turn right, though.
21 is left.
You turn right.
I turned left. Did I?
You got a concussion or what? Flip 54.
Coach Matt Pike not happy with Caldwell right there. She turned the wrong way on the play. Yeah, she got points on the board, but she made a mistake first. It was an inside play. She missed the handoff, went outside, and got in the end zone.
Caldwell still learning this offense. She'll tell you herself, she is a student of the game. She's absorbing everything. Give her credit every offseason. She's typically one of the hardest working gym rats in the LFL.
Nobody works harder, and you're right, you got to give her credit. She could have stayed at running back where she played Atlanta. She stepped up and learned the quarterback position, like you said, learning more every day. But she is confident. You heard her before the game. She says she's better than Heather Furr. She's better than Jacinda. She wants to be the top quarterback ever here in Chicago.
We've made a lot of references, because she wears number 15 as well, to Tim Tebow. She does not like that, by the way.
Dead ball. Delay game on the offense. We replay the try.
Tim Tebow was a great quarterback. I know she probably doesn't like him, but he was a great running back, and he threw the ball okay. Not great, but he had great numbers some games, like against Alabama. Unbelievable leader, and she has the same qualities. That's a compliment.
Spoken like a true former Gator, talking up Tim Tebow. We're going to start drug testing in the booth here.
Tim Tebow, I think he won the Heisman Trophy, didn't he?
He did win the Heisman. I think I was referencing Jane more importantly, was referencing him as an NFL quarterback. She thinks she's a little ahead of him. Dropping back to pass over the middle. A Tim Tebow-esque pass. That was deflected by Tierra Brown in the end zone.
Brown came to play tonight. Watch this. Safety, cover 2, saw the quick post, came up, broke this down. Great play by Brown, and she lit up Caldwell earlier. This is what Denver needs, fire like Brown has.
Elizabeth DeGrott, Tierra Brown, these are recent additions. So you know, in Denver, Colorado, especially being such an outdoorsy, athletic city, with a full offseason of recruiting, this team can look very different.
And Jessica Johnson, if she stays there also, you're right. That's a hardcore group of players right there that wants to play football.
A 1st and 10 ball at the 15. Lowry remaining in at quarterback. That is a delayed handoff to DeGrott, and that ball's loose. That should be a fumble. I think they're going to call DeGrott down, but how about this front 3?
You have to give your running back DeGrott some help. Nneka Nwani, nobody blocked her. That front line of Denver is getting crushed tonight. They're doing okay on pass protection, but run-wise, they are getting crushed by Nwani, Galladay, everybody on that defense of Chicago.
I think any offensive line would have a tough time against Nwani, Galladay, Kristen Morrison, and wait till Chantel Taylor returns.
That defensive line is going to look rock solid in the playoffs. I love to watch them play, come off the edge, pin their ear back. They're fun football players.
That looked to be Elizabeth DeGrott being escorted off the field after she was just pile-drived into the ground by Nneka Nwani. A 2nd and 15, a little dump off. That was intended for Haley Ryan, so some sloppy passing here by Lowry.
Lowry got the coverage she wanted, one-on-one. The problem is Dominique Collins is one of the best one-on-one cover players in the league. There was nothing there, and she swamped that receiver.
And you really don't see the hunger from any of these wide receivers on the Denver side of the ball going after the football. That was a very half-hearted effort by Haley Ryan. That is a mentality they've got to get out of their head. I think that's going to be their biggest demon, is the understanding of it's not okay to lose football games.
Well, they simply lack any wow players. Chicago's stacked with wow players. Denver has 0.
A good-looking hit on Jessica Johnson, jarring the ball loose. That looks like Kim Perez on the recovery. Johnson very slow to get up. We'll see if they call this a catch and a fumble.
Jessica Johnson, she made a good catch. She didn't tuck it away. That is absolutely a fumble. That should be Chicago's football if they got it.
Kim Perez at the bottom of that scrum. We'll see if they call this a fumble. No, they're going to say that was an incomplete pass. If this was a closer game, I think this is where you may see a challenge on that Chicago sideline. But with 50-0 on the scoreboard, you kind of let this one go.
You want to let it go, and you heard Coach Hack at halftime. He wants to work on individuals getting better and then not get anybody hurt. So, yeah, he's not going to challenge that one.
A 4th and 15, Denver electing to punt it. Lindsey fields a good-looking punt, gets away from Allie Alberts. That is a loose ball picked up by Deandra Fry. They are going to mark Fry down and out of bounds. That'll take us to the end of the 3rd quarter. Chicago comfortably ahead, 50-0. Back to 4th quarter action of LFL football night. This Chicago-based crowd having a good time inside Toyota Park as Queen plays in the background and their team up comfortably 50-0.
This city of Chicago is the city of winners with the Cubbies, and here we have the BLISS defending their championship possibly.
Now if only the Chicago Bears can get their act together. This is Jane Caldwell Nicely set up crossing pattern intended for Javille Thompson. That is another drop for Thompson.
See, she's good at this. Climbs the pocket, gets it underneath. Not a great pass, kind of shot-putted it out there, but the right read.
That's where you can make your Tim Tebow argument. That was an ugly-looking pass, so her delivery's not the best, and it goes back to mechanics, really.
Well, it's all mechanics, and a lot of quarterbacks can throw, but what Matt Pike's trying to do, great quarterbacks know how to pass, not throw.
I'm completely lost. Again, I was a high school quarterback. I guess I was just throwing.
Throwers are throwers. Passers are guys like Joe Montana, Tom Brady.
I am definitely a thrower. That is out of bounds, Javille Thompson. They really like what they see out of Thompson. As you said, and I may have mentioned it earlier, they're really thinking she is going to be the air replacement to Christelle Harris.
It's got to be a tough situation for the Ferrari, the greatest ever. You call her the GOAT. And then you see Javille Thompson. That's got to be a little intimidating, even for the Ferrari. She is talented right behind her.
But talking to Christelle Harris, she believes she's got a few more miles on her tires. That's why I firmly believe she's going to sign elsewhere this offseason. That is Jane Caldwell on a 3rd and 10 crossing pattern, complete to Thompson. And Thompson looking really good against a rather shoddy Denver defense.
Jane Caldwell again, when she's in the pocket, she looks solid underneath. I like the situation where you throw it deep once in a while to get that secondary open, but she is really good underneath throwing the football.
Thompson finally getting a breather on the sideline. A great replacement for her is Tamar Fennell. And let's not forget about Shabria Civilian. Civilian's also had kind of a career season here in Chicago.
This Chicago team, they can light up anybody, and I hate to bring it back all the time to Caldwell, but Caldwell needs to win a championship to get that to that elite level.
A 1st and 10 play, another crossing pattern. That one to Shabria Civilian. Another Chicago touchdown.
That kind of passing attack, short underneath throws to go along with their running game, they can win a championship. Again, the timing is perfect. Bam, underneath, on the money, touchdown.
I like how Shabria Civilian, Javille Thompson, and Tamar Fennell really played that slot position well on those crossing patterns.
Well, they run off the DBs, everybody else running 9 and corner routes, then they come underneath and they got the speed to go against anybody one-on-one.
Chicago now lining up for the 2-point conversion, kind of a bunch set. Caldwell back to pass, nobody there, and escaping through arm tackles, still on her feet, fighting for the goal line. How about Jane Caldwell and her want-to?
All you can say is, wow. Watch this effort. Any normal quarterback is down twice, 3 times, 4 times, and she stands up and takes the whole team across the goal line. Incredible play by Jane Caldwell.
When you find that many defenders whiffing on arm tackles, that goes back to your mindset. I mentioned, Jane Caldwell with the want-to. Does Denver have that want-to?
Denver doesn't, but you know what? A lot of new LFL fans will probably say just that. It's like, well, she's running against Denver, who's given up all kind of points all year. But Caldwell's done this in Australia. She did it in Atlanta. She did it in Los Angeles. She can run the football.
That is a hard individual not to root for. One of the nicest people you'll meet off the field and on the field, improving very quickly.
And the biggest thing I like about her is her desire to get better. She works, and she works hard.
That is a 1st and 10 handoff to Isaiah Walker, or make it Asia Walker. That'll be kept to a minimal gain of about 2 yards.
Asia Walker right now, Carlos Bates, he's looking at everybody to see what kind of sparks he might have if he comes back next year.
We haven't seen Shalyn Canfield targeted. Carlos Bates was very high on her at the receiver position when the quarterback position did not work out, but she's just not been targeted tonight.
Not at all. For Lowry right now, she needs to get this team together, and I really like the way she played tonight, but they need to get points on the board going into next season.
A 2nd and 10 play. A 2-person rush from Chicago overthrown. That was well played by Allie Alberts and the corner.
I take back what I said earlier about Lowry's arm. Right there, she has the arm. That was a solid deep down the field throw. She just needs some coaching. Wow, that's a great sign for Denver. I knew she could throw underneath. We know she can run, but she showed great arm strength on that throw.
And that was one of the only times Lowry had somewhat of a pocket to throw in. Getting back to your other point, she was kind of thrust into this position. She was in effect the quarterback's coach for Denver, but when they were falling left and right, they plugged her in, and physically, she'll be. I'm sure she'll be the first to tell you that she wasn't ready for this.
She wasn't ready physically. You're right. Give her the off season. She can throw the football, run. Give her some good coaching right there. That could have been 6 points for Chicago. Not a great throw, but she has potential.
That time, Lowry throwing off her back foot and a sloppy ball that just sailed on her and nearly picked off by Kim Perez. We talked about Perez in her final home game here at Toyota Park in her finale season as a Chicago Bliss.
Kim Perez, she never got all the credit she deserves on her entire career because of all the superstars playing around her, but one of the best defensive backs I've seen in the LFL.
Quietly, Kim Perez has really had a Hall of Fame-like career at that safety position. Now a 4th and 8 for the Denver offense. A quick screen that was thrown at the feet of Haley Ryan as Chicago will take over on downs.
Now you can't blame the players on that. Carlos Bates, it's 4th and long. He tries a quick screen with no wow players that can explode for 10 yards. There's no way that play's going to work. Bad play selection.
I think the writing is pretty much on the wall at this point with Carlos Bates. Obviously, we at the league office have to look at several factors, but it has been a tough season in the Mile High City, to say the least. A 1st and 10 now for Jane Caldwell. Dropping back to pass, looking over the middle, now stretching the field. Another great touch pass, this time to Christelle Harris.
When Jane Caldwell takes her proper drop, 3 steps, steps up, and throws the football on time, this is what happens. Beautiful, beautiful pass, beautiful route by the Ferrari, touchdown Chicago.
And what about the concentration of Christelle Harris to get both feet in? Speaking of Christelle Harris, we talked about her relationship with head coach Keith Hack.
I mean, my relationship with Hack in the past, I could call him about anything on Instagram or anything we saw on Facebook. Right now it's a little strained. I don't know why. I still love him to pieces. I love the way he coaches. I just wish we could get back to where we were in like 2010. I'm like one of the oldest players on the team, so I guess family goes through it from time to time, and his expectations for me are a lot higher than the other girls. So
I don't think there's a problem between those two. I just think it's the development of Javelle Thompson. I mean, she can start for any team. Hack wants to play both of them because I think that's a great move on his part, because the longevity now for Christelle Harris might be a couple more years here if she stays in Chicago.
Absolutely. I think the development and having the luxury of a Javelle Thompson, and for that matter, a Shabria Civilian, makes that decision a lot easier. A 1st and 10 play dump off. Haley Ryan. Good open field running by the 5'5" Las Vegas native.
That's why Denver needs a solid offensive coordinator. Where was that called the last series when it was 4th and 9? They throw a quick screen and get nothing. This one, they get 10 with a simple in route. Ryan comes in, goes after the football, makes a big play.
Bobby Hugo and company have the pitchforks out for Carlos Bates. I think you're lobbying for a new coaching position.
I'm not against Bates. I just like a good offensive system so these players can develop into the players they should be developed into.
A 2nd and 3 from the shotgun. A delayed draw play to Asia Walker. That didn't fool anybody. Tackled by Toya Jerome. That is someone else we haven't talked about. She's also coming on at the defensive end position. How about this recycling of talent that happens here in Chicago? There's nothing like it in the league.
Next woman up. That's how Coach Hack is. He doesn't care who you are. If you don't want to play, if you go against his system, he'll get rid of you because it has somebody else stepping into your shoes.
A team like Denver and Pittsburgh, your 2017 expansion franchises, if nothing else, after 8 years of LFL football, at least now have a model to aspire to. And I think that franchise model has got to be Chicago.
That's it. Year in and year out. It used to be Los Angeles, but there's a little controversy out there right now. Right now in Chicago, they don't want to. They plan on bringing the Legends Cup back to Chicago again.
Look at Marissa Galladay and Toya Jerome, the future of this defense, all over Lowry.
Tanya Jerome, she is the third string defensive end. She started last week and had an outstanding game against Omaha. That just shows you the depth of the Chicago Bliss.
Lowry in this offense down to their under 3 minutes now of the 2017 season. We'll see if they take some shots down the field or no. They're going to elect to punt it here. Lindsay Fields, that is her third or fourth punt of the night. This one sailing well out of bounds as Chicago takes over again.
Well, they finally got a record. That is the LFL record for number of punts in a game. That is their fourth of the night.
Lindsay Fields working up that leg. If nothing else, they've got a good punter.
Their punting game is right on.
Solid.
I don't know what that says, but at least they have something going.
Jane Caldwell looking over that play card. It's almost as if they've given her some freedom here to do some play calling.
The best quarterbacks in the league sometimes call their own plays, like Ashley Salerno in Los Angeles. This deep in the game, up 66-0. Heck yeah, let her call some plays.
That is a reverse. Tamar Fennell. And Fennell getting into the second layer of the defense, all the way down to about the 10-yard line. Just when you think you've seen Shabria Civilian, Javille Thompson, another carbon copy of that mold, Tamar Fennell.
You could see on that run how she was an all-fantasy running back in Cleveland. She took the ball horizontal, 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 then bam, vertical, gets a big gainer.
That should take us down to the 2-minute warning here in Chicago, Illinois, with the hometown Bliss up 66-0. Back to LFL football night, and next week we head to Atlanta, Georgia as Dakota Hughes and the Steam host Cynthia Schmidt in the Los Angeles Temptation. And that is your game MVP, Christelle the Ferrari Harris. Say what you will about her aging a bit, she still can churn up the numbers with the best of them.
Bourbon, scotch, or a beer, the Ferrari's having a record year.
I got to get your writers, Bobby Huco.
That's one of your favorite songs. That's a country song.
And look at her enjoying the moment with the crowd here at Toyota Park. You don't see this in the NFL. That is Christelle Harris downing a beer. Hopefully she's done on the night.
I think she's done on the night, but what a game she had. She started tonight. She played like the old Ferrari. The teammates love her. I hope her and Hack get back on the same page.
I love you. I love you. I love you. I know. I know. You showing everybody. You showing everybody.
That is Kim Perez and Christelle Harris embracing one another, as this could be the final home game for both of them in a Bliss uniform.
Going to be an interesting off-season. I really hope that the Ferrari finishes a career right here in Chicago, but who knows? She's not happy.
In this day of free agency, these players are allowed to sign anywhere. And again, I don't think Christelle Harris will be in a Chicago uniform in 2018.
If she becomes a free agent, every team in this league is going to be on her doorstep.
We talked about it in the Omaha game. It's a fun game for you and I to play in the broadcast booth here. It's kind of like LeBron when he's a free agent. You get to guess and pick where's a good fit for Christelle Harris. Off the top of my head, I love her in Los Angeles. I know they have Carmen Borceau, but the explosiveness of Christelle the Ferrari Harris with Ashley Salerno, that is an incredible combination.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I think she'd be fit in well in Los Angeles. A great addition, but you know who's going to be after her? Chris Michelson in Seattle.
There's a handoff to Javille Thompson. Thompson will gain a couple yards as we near the end of this game and the 2017 season for the Denver Dream. And as these final seconds tick off the clock, if you're Carlos Bates, head coach of the Denver Dream, you're starting to think, is this the end of the line for me and the Denver Dream?
The season they had was absolutely disappointing. I mean, roughly they gave up 366 points, scored 1 touchdown this year. But he's an old player. He played at Georgia. He loves this game. He loves the players. It's going to be interesting when he meets with the league during the offseason. What happens?
Obviously, there's a lot of factors involved. That is a toss right play, a good open field tackle, Jessica Johnson and Shalyn Canfield. But getting back to Carlos Bates, it's tough to make an argument for the coach because you've got a team that not even arguably, but was the worst product put on the field in LFL history. And when you do that, you got to factor your days, hours, minutes, and in this case, seconds, are dying off quickly.
Well, being a head coach anywhere is usually a temporary position. But when you have a year like this, I mean, coaches know if they have years like this, they're gone, simply gone. It's going to be up to him to fight with the league to stay there.
A 4th down for this Chicago offense, surprisingly not taking a knee here. A crossing pattern to Leah Fire, and that could have easily been the 5th touchdown pass of the night, make it the 6th touchdown pass of the night for Jane Caldwell, but that was dropped in the end zone.
Good pass by Caldwell. Again, that underneath pass right in the gut. You have to catch that ball if you're Leah Fire. If you want to play for Coach Hack, you have to catch that ball. That's points.
Lowry going out on the field for the final time in this game. A little over a minute remaining. Lowry and this offense looked good early on in the first quarter and then just got stymied by perhaps the best defense in the LFL.
They moved the football against arguably the best defense in the league. I really hope that Lowry considers coming back next year to play here in Denver because this is a quarterback's league. Every good team has a great quarterback, and she has a lot of potential.
And on cue, Lowry connecting with Haley Ryan. Ryan really coming on late in this game. And an offense here that has potential.
She bought time like KK Matheny in Seattle right there. She bought time for the receiver to get open, and then she delivers a strike. I really like her.
Denver still getting after it here as we're under 1 minute remaining. Faking now, trying the sideline, completing again to Haley Ryan. You could see Keith Hatt not agreeing with the reception.
How's that a completion? She landed out of bounds.
Keith Hack very upset. I don't think he sleeps at night because of plays like this. I think she was clearly out of bounds. I think the refs give her a break. Actually, she's in. She is inbound. Feet were down. Great catch. And look at the sideline. I like the way the whole Denver sideline, they could be looking, you know, their old boyfriends or whatever, thinking this game's over. They're excited on their sideline.
A 2nd and 10. Lowry back to pass over the middle. Another release play to Jessica Johnson. And I know this is garbage time, but this is a scheme they could have pulled off earlier.
An offensive coordinator would see the plays that work and keep going back to them. 13 seconds left. Let's see him get points.
Fuck are you doing? Go get her! You're like dancing. Go get her! If that was Nani, that girl's fucking dead.
Toya Jerome, the rookie, getting an earful from head coach Keith Hack.
That's why Hack wins championships. He's not content with anything. He's up 66-0. He's all over his team. He wants more trophies than Chicago.
Yeah, that's no coincidence. We've seen matchups earlier in the season with Denver against Seattle, and the same can be said of a Chris Michelson not being happy despite the score. This is Lowry going to Ryan again. This time better coverage by Allie Alberts.
It's great seeing Allie Alberts back playing safety, one of the best in the game, arguably the best combination. Her and Kim Perez at safety for Chicago. Maybe Atlanta can contend with them, but Allie Alberts is one of the best in the game today.
Alberts is not only one of the best on the field, but has developed a voice in the locker room. We talked about Kristen Morrison finally getting there. There are a lot of leaders inside that locker room in Chicago. A 2nd and 10, a high snap. Lowry able to manage it and completing, but this time dropped by Ryan. They're really targeting number 19 here.
It's really surprising how many times Lowry's delivering the football with pressure in traffic. The receivers are simply dropping the ball.
The final few seconds here for Denver as they'll get a chance to reflect back on this nightmarish 2017 season. As you talked about it, being outscored by nearly 360 points over 4 games. You don't see those kinds of numbers in basketball, let alone football.
For Chicago, now is when the time of the season comes where Jane Caldwell can show if she's as good as Heather Furr and Jacinda Barkley in the playoffs and lead this team to a championship.
And this is Lowry running for her life again on the final play of the season, nearly connecting with Jessica Johnson, but that'll do it for us here as Denver ends their season and Chicago is headed to the playoffs. An amazing 4-0 regular season. Down in the field with a mic'd up Christelle Harris.
Hey, I love y'all. I love y'all. My MVP tonight, I owe that all to y'all. I can't do none of this shit without y'all. When it comes down to it, we the only people that's on this field. Like the coaches can't play for us, our family can't play for us. We show up for each and everybody every time, y'all. I fuck with y'all, I love y'all.
That is why the Ferrari is the greatest of all time.
That'll do it for us here in Chicago, Illinois, as the Bliss tune up for the playoffs, winning this one in style, 66-0. For our producer, Brian Petrus, my partner, Bobby Huco, this is Mitch Mortaza. We will see you next week on LFL Football Night.